serving the Republic of the Philippines for more than 75 years. Ito po ang Presidential Broadcast Service.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday held a sectoral meeting with cabinet officials to review measures in mitigating high fuel prices. In a palace press briefing at Malacañang, Department of Energy or DOE Secretary Rafael Lotilla said, the President instructed the agency to shorten the trigger period from 3 months to 1 month in order to release the fuel subsidies meant to cushion the impact of higher fuel prices for the transport sector. Secretary Lotilla said that the trigger period is whenever the Dubai crude, which is used as the benchmark for oil prices, exceeds its prices of $80 per barrel for 3 consecutive months, then that is the time when the provision of subsidies to the transport sector is released. Besides the simplification of the early release of fuel subsidies, President Marcos also agreed with the implementation of the voluntary 20% ethanol blend for gasoline targeted by the end of the year, as well as the continued electrification of the transport sector, particularly mass transport and light cargo vehicles. Let's listen to the statement of Department of Energy Secretary Rafael Lotilla.
The President called for the sectoral meeting in order to review the mitigating measures for high fuel prices. And among those who attended the meeting were the Department of Transportation, the Department of Trade and Industry, National Economic and Development Authority, Department of Budget and Management, Department of Interior and Local Government, and the Department of Information and Communication Technology, as well as the Department of Agriculture. So the highlights of the meeting resulted in the following. One, the President gave instructions on changing the language of the 2024 GAA provision on fuel subsidies for the transport sector in order to shorten the trigger period from 3 months to 1 month and simplify the release requirements. For those of you who are not familiar with the trigger period, whenever the Dubai price per barrel exceeds $80 for 3 months, then that will be the trigger for the provision of subsidies to the transport sector drivers, public utilities, including tricycle and other public utilities. So with this simplification or shortening of the period, we will be able to release the subsidies in a shorter period of time. The second is the simplification of the release requirements. So this time, as proposed by the Department of Budget and Management to Congress, the guidelines will need only to be agreed upon by the Department of Budget and Management, the Department of Transportation, and the Department of Energy. And these can be released upon the finalization of the list of beneficiaries by the Department of Transportation for those which have franchises, and then by the Department of Interior and Local Governments for those tricycle drivers and by the Department of Trade and Industry for delivery service drivers. The second important point that was agreed upon was the implementation of the voluntary 20% ethanol blend for gasoline, which is targeted for approval by the end of 2023. As for those of you who are using gasoline, you know that we have a mandatory requirement of 10% blend of ethanol with gasoline, and the new policy that we will be implementing is voluntary and raising it to 20%. And this is primarily a price mitigation measure because because ethanol, especially imported ethanol, is cheaper than the price of gasoline. So right now, the price of gasoline without ethanol is around 56.89. Then it will result in a price differential of around 1 peso and 28 centavos, or up to even 1 peso and 50, depending on, of course, on the prices. The local ethanol price per liter is currently around 79 pesos and 49 centavos, which is higher than the imported ethanol, which is at 41 pesos and 44 centavos. But local production of ethanol can only support 48% of the 10% blend, and therefore the utilization of a higher share of imported ethanol will result in lower pump prices because of the increased blend. And the other measure which the president wanted the government agencies to work on is the continued electrification of the transport sector, particularly mass transport and light cargo vehicles. So the president gave emphasis on the need, one, for having the charging stations in place. Second, to make sure that the benefits to the transport sector, is particularly the drivers, will indeed be there, because right now, just from a fuel standpoint, the estimated difference between electric vehicles running per kilometer and those that are internal combustion engines using gas and diesel is quite significant. So for those using gasoline, the per kilometer run is at 5 pesos 30 centavos. But for the light duty electric vehicles, it's a range of 1 peso to 26 centavos to 1 peso to and 90 centavos per kilometer. Whereas the cost for those running on diesel is at 4 pesos per kilometer. Of course, these are based on assumptions of the cost of gasoline at 70 per liter and the cost of diesel at 66 pesos per liter. The president also emphasized the need for preparing the economy for the eventual manufacture of electric vehicles in the country and linking these up with the local mining sector that will produce the minerals needed for the production of batteries and other components of electric vehicles. The other that the president and the cabinet members considered was the increase in the cocoa methyl ester or the cocoa biodiesel blend from the current 2% to 3%, and which can actually be accommodated by the supply of feedstock, given that the total coconut production at this time is, the entire country is at 15 billion nuts. And for the additional 1% blend, we need only an additional of 2.6 billion nuts. So on the whole, the increase in the blend can also drive down the cost of cocoa methyl ester, because they will be there will be a bigger market for CME. So right now we expect at least the diesel landed price, the pure diesel, to be at parity with the price of cocoa methyl ester per liter. So I think these are things that are good news for our consumers and our transport sector.
Department of Energy Secretary Rafael Lotilla.
Dateline Malacañang.
Correction, the sectoral meeting was held on Tuesday. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday evening said that the national government will continue undertaking initiatives to make the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, a world-class force. The President gave the assurance in a speech during the traditional dinner he hosted for the AFP Council of Sergeants Major at Malacañang Palace in Manila. President Marcos urged the AFP personnel to keep up the good work, assuring them that his administration, as well as the entire country, will always be on their side as they fulfill their duties. This, as President Marcos emphasized the enlisted personnel's crucial role as the backbone of the country's military force by sustaining the success of defending and protecting the nation. The chief executive acknowledged that enlisted personnel comprise 90% of the troops, and their specialized abilities support the daily operations and institutional activities of the AFP.
This is where you sergeants major come into the picture. As the most senior, most experienced, most seasoned amongst our enlisted personnel, you help in implementing the plans and strategies that we are enforcing on the ground. Continue to show them your selfless and dedicated service to the nation that enabled you to reach the positions that you occupy today. I am confident that our sergeants major will continue to learn new skills, acquire more knowledge, and enhance their competence to fully realize the armed forces' objectives. Rest assured that we will remain steadfast in transforming and modernizing the AFP into a world-class force that is respected by its counterparts and is a source of national pride. Keep up the good work. Know that this administration and the entire country is behind you as you fulfill your duties to the nation.
The annual traditional dinner for the AFP Council of Sergeants Major was attended by around 180 guests from the AFP, the Department of National Defense, or DND, and the Office of the Presidential Advisor on Military and Police Affairs, or OPAMPA. The event took place in conjunction with the celebration of the 27th Non-Commissioned Officers Week and the 54th founding anniversary of the Office of the AFP Sergeant Major.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Tuesday said that the country's stable and high-level economic growth under the watch of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. makes the Philippines a top choice for Japanese businesses and investors. In a courtesy call to the President at Malacañang Palace in Manila, the Japanese Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or JCCI, has recognized the current administration's efforts to transform the Philippines into an attractive investment destination. During the meeting with the President, JCCI Chairperson Ken Kobayashi noted that Japanese firms have expressed interest in strengthening their partnership with the Philippines, adding that it is the first country the organization visited as it resumes its economic missions. Kobayashi said the Philippines' sustained economic growth momentum have attracted Japanese investors to develop their operations in the country. In anticipation of increased workforce population and domestic demand. Acknowledging Japan's continuing assistance to the Philippines in terms of infrastructure development, President Marcos cited ways to further develop both nations' economies and identified other areas for collaboration. The chief executive also emphasized his administration's focus on new technologies that form part of the digital movement towards transforming the global economy. President Marcos said the government is also prioritizing agriculture and climate change adaptation, apart from infrastructure development, renewable energy, digitalization, and telecommunications. The JCCI's visit to the Philippines is the first economic mission dispatched by the organization since the pandemic. Kobayashi said the Japanese mission is composed of some 70 strong members representing the top management of the Japanese corporate world and illustrating the corporation's interest in the Philippines. JCCI is the largest business organization in Japan, having 1.25 million companies ranging from big corporations to small and medium-sized enterprises. It is comprised of 515 local chambers across Japan.
Dateline Malacañang.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday called for a special command conference with all security officials to discuss the recent collision incident in the West Philippine Sea, or WPS, and ordered the Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG, to immediately conduct a maritime investigation. In a statement, the Presidential Communications Office, or PCO, said that the incident, brought about by dangerous, illegal, and reckless maneuvers by vessels of the China Coast Guard, or CCG, caused damage to a Philippine vessel within our exclusive economic zone, or EEZ, and is being taken seriously at the highest level of government. The PCG said it is looking to complete its investigation in 5 days. In a separate briefing in Malacañang on Monday, Defense Secretary Gilbert Chodoro Jr. said China's recent action is a serious escalation of the illegal activities conducted by the Chinese government in the WPS and a complete disregard of any norm or convention of international law. Chodoro said that on October 22nd, while conducting a legitimate rotation and resupply, or RORE mission within the EEZ of the Philippines, CCG and maritime militia vessels harassed and collided with Onaiza May 2 and PCG vessel BRP Cabra. He said this occurred within the 200-mile exclusive economic zone of the Philippines, which China has no jurisdiction, authority, or right to conduct any operations. Let's listen to the statement of Department of National Defense Secretary Gilbert Chodoro Jr.
The President called a special command conference this morning of the National Security and Defense Cluster in order to be briefed and to give his guidance on the latest violation by China of the sovereignty of the Republic of the Philippines. The Philippine government views the latest aggression by China as a blatant violation of international law. China has no legal right or authority to conduct law enforcement operations in our territorial waters and in our exclusive economic zone. We are taking this incident seriously at the highest levels of government. The use by China of brute force behind disingenuous facades necessitates this course of action. We called for this press conference to give you a clear and factual narrative of what transpired. The Chinese government is deliberately obfuscating the truth. The Philippine Navy and the Philippine Coast Guard are here to give you an undistorted narration of the illegal acts of the Chinese vessels. In short, on or about 6:04 in the morning of Sunday, October the 22nd, 2023, while conducting legitimate rotation and resupply operations within the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines, Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia vessels, in blatant violation of international law, harassed and intentionally hit Unaiza May 2 and Philippine Coast Guard vessel BRP Cabra. This occurred within the 200-mile exclusive economic zone of the Philippines, which China has no jurisdiction, authority, or right to conduct any operations whatsoever. This is a serious escalation of the illegal activities conducted by the Chinese government in the West Philippine Sea in complete disregard of any norm or convention of international law. Chinese Ambassador Huang Xilian has been summoned today by Secretary Enrique Manalo of the Department of Foreign Affairs to condemn the reckless and illegal act of the Chinese government. Likewise, Philippine Ambassador to China, Jaime Flor Cruz, has been instructed to convey the same to the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Philippine Coast Guard has been directed to proceed swiftly with its maritime investigation in accordance with international maritime safety regulations. We acknowledge the support of our allies and like-minded nations such as the United States, Japan, Australia, Germany, Canada, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and the European Union in condemning China's aggression and expansionist actions. We call on our people to stand behind the government in executing our constitutional mandate to secure the national interest in the West Philippine Sea.
Philippine Department of National Defense Secretary Gilbert Chodoro Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
A related story, the Philippines Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, on Monday said that the latest incident involving a China Coast Guard, or CCG, coming into contact with a Philippine military contracted resupply boat near Ayungin Shoal puts into question Beijing's commitment to upholding the understanding reached between the Philippine and Chinese leaders. In a press briefing at the National Security Council in Quezon City, Foreign Affairs spokesperson Maria Teresita Daza said, the missions the Philippines undertakes within its exclusive economic zone near Ayungin Shoal are humanitarian in nature to resupply Filipino troops manning the BRP Sierra Madre. She added that Philippine activities within the area are consistent with its rights under international law. Last January, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and Chinese President Xi Jinping reaffirmed the importance of maintaining and promoting peace and stability in the region and the freedom of navigation in and overflight above the South China Sea. During the two leaders' meeting, the two sides also established a direct communication mechanism between the DFA and the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs on maritime issues. Daza said the DFA did not use the hotline this time because incidents in the past have shown that the usefulness of this mechanism is rather limited. The official was referring to the incident off Ayungin Shoal when a CCG vessel used water cannon against a Philippine resupply boat en route to BRP Sierra Madre on August 5th. Meanwhile, Daza said that the DFA summoned the Chinese ambassador on Monday morning after the illegal, dangerous, provocative, and deplorable actions of the Chinese Coast Guard near Ayungin Shoal on October 22nd. Chinese Ambassador Wang Xilian was apparently out of town and was instead represented by his Deputy Chief of Mission, or DCM. DFA spokesperson Daza said the matter was urgent and of importance that the department decided to meet the DCM and convey the Philippine position on Ayungin Shoal. Daza said the embassy DCM met with DFA Assistant Secretary Eileen Mendiola Rao but did not provide further details about the meeting.
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on the maritime incident, the United States government on Monday reaffirmed its commitment to the Mutual Defense Treaty, or MDT, in the wake of China's latest blocking maneuvers near Ayungin Shoal that led to a Chinese Coast Guard, or CCG, vessel coming into contact with a Philippine resupply boat. The U.S. government said it stands with the Philippines in the face of the People's Republic of China, or PRC, Coast Guard and maritime malicious dangerous maneuvers in the South China Sea. In a statement, the U.S. State Department said, the U.S. State Department reaffirmed that Article 4 of the 1951 U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty extends to armed attacks on Philippine armed forces, public vessels, and aircraft, including those of its Coast Guard, anywhere in the South China Sea. A CCG vessel collided with a Philippine supply boat which was on a regular rotation and resupply mission to the detachment manning the BRP Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal on October 22nd. The U.S. reminded Beijing that interfering with the Philippines' maritime operations in its waters is unlawful and undermines stability in the region. The statement came as Beijing released its side of the story, claiming its action in the area was professional and restrained. On the night of the incident, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said the CCG ships were conducting law enforcement on the scene and admitted that Chinese fishing vessels were present and having normal fishing activities there. The Ayungin Shoal, also known as Second Thomas Shoal, is a feature situated well within the Philippines' 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone and continental shelf. China's latest harassment in the area follows its use of a water cannon on a Philippine vessel on August 5th.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine carriers have been gearing up for the anticipated holiday influx across the country's airports. In an interview, Philippine Airlines or PAL spokesperson Chelo Villaluna assured that the fleet availability to deal with the number of flights to be served. Villaluna said PAL has been carrying out 535 weekly round trips via the Manila hub and 210 domestic round trips per week from Cebu and other provincial cities. The flag carrier has 358 round trips per week, with 31 of these are from non-Manila routes. The same frequencies will continue during the holiday break. For a smoother travel experience, Villaluna advised passengers to check in online at least 24 hours before their flight. They are also encouraged to arrive at the airport 2.5 hours before a domestic flight and 3.5 hours before an international flight. She also urged travelers to determine the baggage allowance of their ticket. Also in time for the holiday influx, low-cost carrier Cebu Pacific or CAB recently introduced the use of kiosks for non-visa travelers at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA Terminal 3. Those bound for non-visa destinations would only need to scan their itinerary, receipts, barcode, or enter the booking reference number on the kiosks. This has been also implemented at the Mactan Cebu International Airport. Passengers of the Gokongwei-led airline at NAIA Terminal 3 who might be affected by flight disruptions may simply show their boarding passes at several partner stores inside the terminal to avail of meals. The NAIA is expecting about 1.2 million passengers to pass through the main gateway from the 27th of October to the 5th of November. In a statement, Manila International Airport Authority Officer in Charge Brian Coe said they target to minimize overcrowding in passenger and aircraft movement through the timely dispatch of flights.
Dateline Malacañang.
Servants of Mental Health Awareness Month, Civil Service Commission or CSC Chairperson Carlo Nograles has reminded government agencies of the need to promote the mental health of 1.9 million state workers nationwide. In a statement Monday, Nograles said, agencies, heads, and officials must recognize that the quality of public service delivered to stakeholders depends not only on government workers' physical health, but also on their mental health as well. He noted that employees who enjoy good health, both physically and mentally, are more likely to deliver optimal performance in the workplace, not only because they have a better quality of life, but also because of the benefit of having lower risk from disease, illness, or injury. Under CSE Resolution Number 190165, promulgated in October of 2019, government agencies are directed to establish and implement a mental health program or MHP integrated into their respective human resources or HR development and management policies and programs to provide an inclusive, conducive, and supportive work environment for public officials and employees. The MHP also seeks to address the stigma on mental health and provide appropriate psychosocial support and treatment for employees with mental health conditions, as mandated under Republic Act No. 11036 or the Mental Health Act of 2018. Nograles urged agencies to further promote employees' well-being by organizing team-building activities, sports festivals, support groups, and even virtual events such as the online Zumba and film showing during the 123rd PCSA in September.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, we would like to invite everyone to come and visit our Facebook page at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.